And welcome back. What the heck is happening? Because contracts being signed between home buyers and home sellers actually increased for the second consecutive month based on a new report from the National Association of Realtors. So isn't our housing market slowing down? One would assume, right? So I'm going to give you guys some context about what's happening right now between buyers and sellers, and also give you guys some insights regarding some potential reasons why we're seeing an increase of pending home sales. So I have a lot to discuss in today's video, so let's go ahead and dive right in. This is a report from the National Association of Realtors that was just posted yesterday at the time of this video, which was posted on the 27th here. It says here that pending home sales improved in January for the second consecutive month. On top of that, all 4 US major regions here posted monthly gains but saw year-over-year decreases in the US. Again, these are based on contracts being signed between buyers and sellers or pending home sales. And this, by the way, is a report for existing home sales and not brand new homes. So take a look at this. On a month-over-month basis, their index, which of course is a measure of contracts being signed between buyers and sellers, increased by 8.1%. And each of these 4 major regions increased as well. The West, the biggest increase, 10.1% compared to December last year. The Midwest increasing by 7.9%. The Northeast increasing the least, up by 6%. And the South gained by 8.3%. Now, here's another way to look at this because, again, for each of these major regions here, recording increases compared to 1 year ago. Again, the West, the biggest increase, up by 10.1%. However, though, on a year-over-year basis, this is January this year, of course, compared to January 2022, each of these 4 major regions recorded decreases by at least 19%. And the biggest decrease was actually in the West, a decrease of 29.3%. And by the way, the National Association of Realtors Pending Home Sale Index, or their PHSI, is based on a seasonally adjusted annualized rate. And the reason they do that is that it's much easier to compare month-to-month changes for their pending home sale index. So for example, in January compared to let's just say May last year, it's much easier to do a season adjusted annualized rate because, of course, in May, we tend to see a huge increase of contracts being signed and, of course, a low amount in the winter months. In any case, their index right now at 82.5, that's an increase of 8.1% compared to December, but a decrease of 24.1% compared to January 2022. Also at 82.5, this is actually the highest levels going back to August last year when the index was 88.3. And here's another way to look at this as well, because here's a historical file from the National Association of Realtors. I actually pulled this off their website a couple of months ago and actually gave me permission to share this with you guys on the 29th of September here. This is based on contracts being signed between buyers and sellers, again, for existing houses only. So these 2 columns is what I pulled from their website here. I added these 2 calculations right here, year-over-year changes as well as month-to-month changes. So let's have a look at this. So again, for January, 82.5, the second consecutive monthly increase. But before December, it actually decreased for 13 consecutive months. And that's right there, all the way from November of 2021, all the way until November of 2022, their index decreased, but has increased for the past 2 consecutive months. Which, by the way, going back to November 2022, based on my own analysis of the National Association of Realtors data, excluding the onset of COVID, which of course was April 2020, their index back then, which was in November, of course, was an all-time record low for data going back to January of 2001. Then their index increased by 1.1%, which, by the way, last month they reported a 2.5% increase of contracts being signed compared to November. But they actually did a downward revision this month for December, down to 76.3. So excluding November 2022, as well as April 2020, back in December, that was the lowest levels since approximately June of 2010. Now enter January, 8.1% increase compared to December. And also at 82.5, this is actually the highest levels going back to August of 2022 when their index was 88.3. Now, here's something I found to be very interesting as well, because based on my analysis right here, this 8.1% month-to-month increase is actually the biggest increase going back to June of 2020, when at that time we had an increase of 14.2%, which, by the way, of course, this 14.2% increase that we saw in June and this almost 42% increase compared to April of 2022 was also due to the influx of home buyers after the pandemic shutdown across much of the United States. So in any case, quite the turnaround compared to the lows we saw back in November, all-time record lows going back to January of 2001. And now this 8.1% increase is the biggest month-to-month increase going back to June of 2020. Now, here's something we also know as well, because according to Uncle Fred, our good friend Uncle Fred, for new single-family home sales, which of course is a measure of contracts being signed between builders and buyers, that's defined by the US Census Bureau for a new home sale, that has increased for 2 consecutive months as well. In December, it went from 583,000 on a seasonally adjusted annualized rate to 625,000 in December, then increased again in January to 670,000 on an annualized basis. Therefore, in December and January, we did see an increase of contracts being signed for new houses and also for existing houses as well. So according to the National Association of Realtors chief economist Lawrence Yun, he had this to say: buyers responded to better affordability from falling mortgage rates in December as well as January. So I actually do agree with him regarding this, because we are seeing a decrease in rates, which is causing housing affordability to get actually better. But that was actually January. I'll share some news regarding what's happening right now in February though. So look at this. Average 30-year fixed rate mortgages have been more or less decreasing ever since mid-November last year, as you can see right here. Also in January, they also decreased as well, going from about 6.5% down to approximately 6.09%. So because rates were decreasing, this could cause an increase of activity amongst home buyers right now, which is causing increases of contracts being signed for new houses as well as existing houses as well. However, having said that, as you guys all know, if you guys follow the channel, ever since basically February 1st this year, rates have been increasing greatly. So at the time of this video, which again is the 28th of February, according to Investopedia.com, for people with exceptional credit, of course, the average 30-year fix is at 6.99%. Also, according to the Mortgage News Daily, again, for people with great credit, 6.85%. So this means that rates have increased approximately 1 percentage point in February, which is likely to cause a decrease of home buyer activity or home buying demand in February here. And speaking of that, look at this, because average rates again at 6.85%. 1 year ago, it was 4.04%, which equates to a 2.81 percentage point increase compared to 12 months ago. And again, going from 5.99% that we saw on February 2nd up to about 6.85% on February 28th. So rates over the past week or so have been at the highest rates since the early part of November last year. And this, of course, is much different compared to the trends we saw back in mid-November all the way through January, where we more or less saw decreases in average rates. The National Association of Realtors also provided their housing market forecast through 2024. So they're forecasting that the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is actually going to decrease to an average of 6.1% in 2023. And then decrease further in 2024 to 5.4%. However, even though they're forecasting that rates are going to decrease through 2023 and 2024, Yoon still expects annual existing home sales to decrease by 11.1% in 2023. And that would equate to just under 4.5 million home sales in 2023. In 2024, though, he's predicting that home sales are going to increase by 17.7%. Lawrence Yun also had this to say: home sales activity looks to be bottoming out in the first quarter this year, before incremental improvements will occur. But an annual gain in home sales will not occur until 2024. The Realtors Association is also forecasting that home sold prices will be stable compared to the previous year for most markets, with the national median home sold price decreasing by 1.6% this year to $380,100 before regaining positive traction of 3.1% in 2024, an increase to $391,800. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about this increase of pending home sales for 2 consecutive months? On top of that, what do you guys think about their housing market forecast through 2024? Please comment below. And with that said, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you guys got any value of this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I really appreciate that. And of course, I appreciate you. Hope you guys have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.